this the Tristan Law Show? If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law, retired pro wrestler, and today, I'm your host. Well, I watched Seth Rollins on the Club Shay Shay the other day, and if you haven't watched it, I recommend that you go watch it after this. And what stood out to me, it wasn't the headlines, it wasn't CM Punk, it wasn't The Shield, it wasn't even Vince McMahon. It was the emotional side of Colby Lopez, the man who is Seth Rollins, who is the character. Colby Lopez, the man who is the character Seth Rollins. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't bitter, but he was emotional the entire time. This episode of the Tristan Law Show is not a drama recap of Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay. This isn't a Seth Rollins throws shots at CM Punk that we're going to talk about for an hour. That's not this video. This video here, this episode here, is a character study of Seth Rollins, or more so, Colby Lopez, the man who is Seth Rollins. Because when somebody at Seth Rollins' level, multi-time champion, WrestleMania main eventer, and he still speaks about wrestling in life with this kind of emotional weight, it tells you something about who he is. Because the deeper you listen, the more you realize Seth Rollins isn't just performing wrestling, he's carrying it. What's going on, Grandmaster Solus? Let's change into the studio glasses. These have a lot less glare. You know, so my son don't say, Daddy, why are your glasses blue? So, looking at that episode with Seth Rollins and on Club Shay Shay, Seth Rollins talked a lot. He did a lot of talking. And I'm just going to say this out the gate. WWE and Seth Rollins, WWE is already working on making Seth Rollins like this big baby face when he comes back. And the reason why I say this is because if you watch a lot of YouTube like me, hey, what's going on, Fernando? If you guys watch a lot of YouTube like me, you'll see Seth Rollins is on a lot of different YouTube videos, on the different channels, because he's been hurt. He's been on Hot Ones, he's been on GQ, he's been on Club Shay Shay. Seth Rollins is everywhere. WWE is building the foundation for Seth Rollins to come back to the WWE as the biggest babyface ever. Now, in the beginning of the interview with Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay, you get the foundation of who he is as a person. The brother said that he grew up in Buffalo, Ohio. Buffalo, Ohio, the population is only 1,163 people. To put this into a way that you guys can understand, 1,163 people, that's only 290 more subscribers than what I have right now today. I am 290 subscribers short from having enough subscribers for one person in Buffalo, Ohio. He talks about his small town structure, no stoplight, and only an elementary school. So everybody grew up knowing everybody. He talks about his adoption. And let me tell you something about this man, Ron Lopez, the one that raised Seth Rollins. And any man out there right now in the earshot of my voice, listen to what I'm saying. Any woman right now in the earshot of my voice, listen to what I'm saying. It takes a real man, it takes a real woman, it takes a real good person to come and love someone else's child like their own. When Ron and Seth's mom broke up and divorced and whatever the case may be, Ron could have said, you know what, F them kids, I'm gonna go do my thing. But Ron didn't say that. So I want to say this, Ron, I don't know if you'll ever listen to this. I don't know if you have access to YouTube. I don't know, but I just want to give you a hand clap because you're a real man. Fernando says that Seth Rollins is too emotional, why he's out of kayfabe, and I don't like it. But you see, Fernando, yes, I think that he is a little bit emotional when he's not being Seth Rollins. But I think this is another layer to him, because pro wrestling is one of those things to where it's like, well, you got the character, but then you got the person, and the two meet in the middle so sloppily you can't really tell where one starts and where one stops. And by them taking this interview of Club Shay Shay and sticks him right in the middle, you don't see him as the architect. You don't see him as the visionary. You really don't really see Seth Rollins as Seth Rollins. You see Seth Rollins sitting there on the couch for Club Shay Shay as Colby Lopez. That's who you see. Seth Rollins talks about having strong male role models. And let me tell you something. Having strong male role models is very important to a boy child. Having strong woman role models is very important to a girl child. Having strong role models of a different gender is very important to children, because I grew up with my own strong role models. My uncles, right? My father was never interested in being my father. So I grew up with other men around me that helped me become a man. Granted, they weren't around me 24/7, but I remember the first time I ever saw somebody shave was my grandfather. I used to be in the bathroom putting on lotion on my face and using the back end of the comb to pretend to shave. Having strong role models is everything. I remember, I'll be honest, I got arrested one time in 2000, got into a fight in school. Not going to really get into that too much. I defended myself and I went to court and I was not guilty because it was self-defense. And I never forget coming out of the car, coming from court in the Bronx. Used to be these old heads that we used to always make fun of all the time because they old. And one of them called me over and said, "Come here." I'm not going to tell you how he said it, but I'm going to tell you in the PG version for the Tristan Law Show on the 830 network. He said, "It's knucklehead dudes like you who end up in prison because of the people that you hang out with." He goes, "Change your life." He goes, "When you're ready to stop doing crazy stuff on the street, come sit down with me and I'll teach you how to play cards." And his name was Ron. His name was Ron. Ron sat there and beat my behind in spades all summer until I started beating him back. It's all about having strong male role models. And Seth Rollins has that, right? This is his foundation of who he is. Like I said before, he even had his stepfather influence of Mr. Ron Lopez. A woman can't teach a boy how to be a man, and a woman can't teach a girl how to be a woman. Let me make sure I say that right. A woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. And a man can't teach a girl how to be a woman. Why? Because they didn't grow up in that role. There's certain things that I experience as a man that I can teach my son that his mother can't teach him because she doesn't have that firsthand experience. And there's certain things that even her as his mother, that she could teach him that I can't because I didn't grow up with those experiences as a woman. So that's why it's very important that you need two people to help shape the children and how they are. Because me personally, if I have a daughter, one day if I have a daughter, I don't know, I'd be horrified if I had to talk to my daughter about her monthly cycle. The amount of books I'd have to read just to understand how it works, I would have to probably, I don't know, send one of my sisters and go talk to your auntie because I don't know what to tell you. For a man like Ron Lopez to find somebody like Seth Rollins' mom and adopt Seth Rollins at 2 years old, everything in the beginning of that interview with Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay is how you understand who Seth Rollins is today. Grandmaster Solar says he's got to go. It's all right. Hey, come back later. There's two viewing experiences that you can get. One from watching live and one from watching on demand. What's going on, Universal? Universal says greetings and salutations. I think in order for me to get Universal in here more often, it has to be on a weekend. That's what I feel like. In order for me to get Universal here, it has to be a weekend. I know I do it weird at 12 o'clock during the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You get Jess on Mondays and Fridays. I know it's weird. I know, but you know what, Universal? I'm glad that you're here. Seth Rollins in the interview with Club Shay Shay, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about some of the things that he revealed on that episode of Club Shay Shay. Seth Rollins, he revealed connecting with his biological family. Like, yo, family is everything, right? And I could empathize, I could understand what Seth Rollins is talking about when it was like, my father has a lot of children, and sometimes I lose count on how many kids the guy got, right? He gave my mother 2, me and my other brother, and then he had a bunch others elsewhere. And I find it hard sometimes to connect with my other siblings because I didn't grow up with them. I don't know them, right? Like, I got one sibling that lives in Canada. Oh my God, as she would say, I love her gone to bed. I love her. I love her husband. I love my nieces and my nephews. And it's not a fault of the children. It's a fault of the father who decided to go out and go do what they want to do and not say, you know what, I got all these kids, let me bring them together so they could at least know each other. That was never something that we had. So like when Seth Rollins is talking about his early beginnings and stuff like that, you can hear the structure in him. You can hear the loyalty in the wiring. He calls Ron Lopez, who is his stepfather. Who's his stepfather? And he calls him dad. He calls him dad. Buffalo, Ohio. No, Buffalo, Idaho. Buffalo, Idaho, Universal. That's what he said. Yeah, that's what he said in the interviews from Buffalo, Ohio, with 1,160 some odd people. We can almost fit every single person that subscribed to this channel in that room, in that state, in that town. When somebody grows up like Seth Rollins, valuing stability, guidance, and earned respect, that doesn't just disappear when they become famous. It's who you are. A lot of people always say to me, a lot of people will say to me that, oh, well, you know, what if you become famous? I tell you straight up, I'd be the same OG. I'll be the same exact person that I am now. I'll just have a little bit more money and a lot more people know who I am. There's still that core value to who you are, because money doesn't make you a better person if you were a bad person before, and money doesn't make you a bad person if you're a good person before. Money and fame and notoriety, those things just give you more rope to do the things that you were doing before. If you were a bad person before and you fall into $1 million now, you hit the lottery today and you hit $1 million. Let me tell you guys this. If you guys hit the lottery for $1 million, don't forget your boy. But if you hit the lottery for $1 million and you're a terrible person, you're just going to be a terrible person who's a millionaire. You're not just going to wake up tomorrow and go, well, you know, I'm going to donate to charity and I'm going to feed people and help old ladies cross the street. No, that's not happening. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. If you're a good person who says, you know, I walk the streets and I see somebody begging for a meal, I say, you know what? How about I give you a job? How about I give you some food? How about, you know what? I take the shirt off my back and give it to you. If you weren't doing that when you were poor, you definitely won't do it when you're a millionaire. Universal says that Buffalo, Idaho is a campground. I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's look at Buffalo, Idaho. No, not Buffalo, Idaho. Wasn't it Buffalo, Iowa? Am I saying Iowa? Am I saying the wrong place? Buffalo, a city in Iowa. Yeah. It's definitely a small town, and everybody probably knows everybody. Let me look at it on the map. Yeah, it's small. It's real small. Okay. So it's one of those. It's close to Davenport, right? It's literally maybe one town over from Davenport, one town west. Buffalo, Iowa, is probably one town west over from Davenport, Iowa. And the thing is that it's one of those things to where you tell people, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Syracuse, New York. And they go, where's that? You tell them where it is, they have no clue where it is. So, or you find a place that you say, hey, I'm from Walden, New York. They go, where the hell is Walden, New York? It's upstate. It's upstate. Because people just don't know. So what you do is you choose the biggest town from there, and you go from there. Like, for example, when somebody knows me and they go, oh, you lived in Florida. Where'd you live? I go, oh, I lived in Ocoee. Ocoee's a town in Central Florida. People will say, oh, where's Ocoee? I just tell you Orlando. I'm going to skip all the long talk, and I'm just going to tell you that I'm from Orlando, and just let the conversation be done. I think that's something that Fernando might be able to side with. But yeah, it's Buffalo, Iowa. If I was saying Idaho, I apologize. My key observation looking at Seth Rollins, though, or Colby Lopez in that interview, was that he doesn't talk about his upbringing casually. He talks about it with gravity. And that gravity, it shows up in how he talks about wrestling. His first show was at 5 years old. And for all of us, I think 5 years old is a pivotal age in all of our lives. I think from newborn to 4 is where we build a foundation to be a child. And 5 is where we start building our foundation to be a teenager and to be an adult. That's where we find out the things that we love. And then it just gets modified as we grow up. Like, I liked pro wrestling at 5 years old too. I got my own 5-year-old story. Seth Rollins made the decision to go all in at 14. I made my decision to at 17 that I was going to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I remember my friends Greg and Nick saying to me, oh, well, you'll never make any money in pro wrestling. It's so hard to make money. I said, fine, I eat bologna sandwiches. Seth Rollins talked about how he dropped out of college. Let me tell you something about college. I'm not saying for everybody not to go to college right now. I'm not saying for you not to go to college. For me, telling people not to go to college is, I think that's a little bit weird. But here's what I'm saying about it. What I'm saying is this. There are a lot of successful people in the world who didn't finish college. And some people go to college and they're no more smarter than they were than when they went in. For some people, going to college and getting that diploma, that's only just a receipt that they went to college, that they went. And it doesn't mean that you're automatically a rocket scientist or that you're a Bill Gates or that you're Elon Musk or anybody that is famous in the world. No, it doesn't mean that. Can it help you? I'm sure. Can it help give you some different skills to operate in corporate America, run your own business? Yeah. Like, I didn't finish college. I dropped out one day. I was like, I'm tired of writing essays. I went to broadcasting school and learned how to create content. This is how I sit in front of you here today. The thing that was so unique about this, I've never heard about Seth Rollins being on Club Shay, is I've never heard Seth Rollins really talk about being on the indies. Right? Seth Rollins is not a guy that was built in, the WWE lab. Seth Rollins was a guy that was built on the indies, right? He was Tyler Black. That was his name, Tyler Black. I wish we had gotten to well, how did you get the Tyler Black name? I'm sure he said it somewhere. But he talked about how hard it is to make it on the indies and his financial struggle. Let me tell you something. A lot of people ask me, oh, well, if you were a pro wrestler wrestling, for the indies, why is it that you work here in this regular job? Because you're not making life-changing money. Can you? You can. You can. But there's a larger pool of people who are just trying to get noticed, who are practicing the craft, who are, just hoping to get to the WWE. That means that, or TNA or AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor. It just means that you may have to live in your car. It's not something that a lot of people want to do. They don't want to live in their cars to try to make their dreams. Independent wrestling is just like you going and watching like a bunch of people playing basketball, or organized football in a field or a park. That's literally what independent wrestling is. Now, it's not that those people couldn't cut it to go to the next level, but something could have happened in life to where they just weren't a good fit for it. But you know what? They still have the love for it, and what they do is they still play basketball, which is just like us indie wrestlers. We still wrestle on the weekends. Universal says, all I know is that he has always told everybody he's from Davenport. Never heard this Buffalo, Iowa stuff until now. He said that Seth Rollins also dropped out of high school and then went back to high school and finished. He has applied to go to college but never did. Instead of going to college, he went to a wrestling school. Never saw this interview. Yeah, that interview just came out a couple days ago. It is here on YouTube. I think that to be respectful to Club Shay Shay, even though I'm talking about them and stuff like that, maybe I'll post a link in the description if you want to go check out the interview on your own. It was probably the interview that we didn't know that we needed from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins continues to talk about waiting for that call from WWE. Seth Rollins did something that I would never see myself doing. Calling the WWE and saying, hey, look, I got a contract with TNA. TNA wants me to sign this contract, and I'm going to sign this contract tomorrow. So if you guys don't have anything for me or don't want to use me, that's fine. I'm just going to go to TNA and we can revisit this another time. And they said, hold on, wait, hold on. Don't go anywhere so quick. In an alternate reality, Seth Rollins could have become a big star in TNA. He didn't fall into wrestling. I think that he chased it with no safety net, because emotion here, it doesn't equal pride. This is someone who bet on himself before anyone else did. When he's discussing his pro wrestling, he's calm. He's discussing the grind. He's secure and he's grounded. And one of those things that you guys never understand until you do it is what it's like to be an indie wrestler. Being an indie wrestler means that you still have to work a regular job. Being an indie wrestler means that you still have a whole entire family. It means that, you know what? You might only get enough money just to cover your gas, barely. You might get $20, $25. You're not making millions of dollars, but he's still continuing to bet on himself. Granted, he was at Ring of Honor, the #1 independent pro wrestling company at the time, but it's just like, it's hard. That's why I always say, hey, go check out an independent pro wrestling show, because there is somebody on the independent pro wrestling show who you don't know, who you may know when they show up on the WWE. Wouldn't it be cool if you can say, hey, look, this person, I've known them since they were, we're going to say Tyler Black. Universal says that Colby changed it from Gix to Tyler Black because that's when he became an atheist. Okay. I didn't know that. I never knew that name. I wish I could probably look for some videos and find him wrestling as Gix. Do you never know that Seth Rollins was an atheist as well too? Hey, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
But when the conversation shifts to the moment that defined him, the emotion, it gets deeper. It gets way deeper when you're looking at the whole thing. You get his formation with Roman Reigns and Jon Moxley, who was known as Dean Ambrose. And out of the three, the trio of Roman Reigns, Jon Moxley, and Seth Rollins, only two of those guys were wrestlers before on the indies. Only two of those guys had experience, and one guy was greener than money. The person that was really green was Roman Reigns. And for the three of them to be put together as the Shield is so much bigger behind the scenes than you really understand. It gave somebody like Roman Reigns the ability to learn the WWE style, but also learn different things in pro wrestling by being with somebody like Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins. You think that the three of them hung out all weekend and never talked about wrestling at all? At all? Universal says that Kobe worked as a cook at Noodles and Company for 3 years. Look, bro, something to look. I sold cell phones. That's how I put money in my pocket, and then I went to go and wrestle. I know an indie wrestler who works at a gym. I know an indie wrestler that works at a bed and breakfast. You just got to do what you got to do to make your money. Social media exploded with Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins being all together, because you could always say, hey, look, those two guys, I don't know who that third guy is, but I can tell you about these two guys over here. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, like they were the real deal. There's a video floating around that gets no love these days. The video that I'm talking about is Seth Rollins versus, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying. Jon Moxley versus CM Punk. That match is a fabulous match. I don't know if it was a FCW show or if it was just a regular indie show, but that's a match you need to look for. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, they become stars. And then the betrayal happens. The betrayal was the changing, where Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns all went their own separate ways. It was a painful moment for Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, who's now Jon Moxley, as they had found a comfort zone and enjoyed performing together. WWE forced Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins to go to separate, to get out of their comfort zone and go find something else to do with themselves. And they made him the catalyst. He admitted that it still impacts him. However, the best thing that's ever happened to Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, who is Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns is for all three of them to separate. Why? Because it sent all three members on their own separate routes to the top of the pro wrestling world. If it wasn't for the Shield, would we care about Roman Reigns, Jon Moxley, and Dean Ambrose the same? I would say maybe not. Because immediately when the Shield came out, they got thrown into high-profile matches. They got to stand in the ring with somebody like John Cena. Now, John Cena doesn't get anybody standing in the ring with him. John Cena, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns needed the Shield to be where they are now. Now, I'm not saying by any shape of the imagination that those guys wouldn't have been famous on their own. They would have been, but the route would have been just different, right? They immediately got catapulted into a situation for us to care about them. And that wasn't just a storyline twist. This here is a legacy decision, breaking up the Shield, because Seth Rollins didn't talk about it like a gimmick. He talked about the Shield breaking up like a life event. To Seth Rollins, it's still real to him, damn it. The Shield elevated him. It changed the locker room perception because he was automatically with Triple H at that point, right? And it altered fan trust forever, character-wise. That's not insecurity. This is accountability. And then you hear the same emotional wiring when Seth Rollins talks about CM Punk when CM Punk's name comes up. Universal says in 2019, Kobe opened up a coffee shop in his hometown of Davenport, Ohio. Isn't it Davenport, Iowa? Where's Seth Rollins from? You're making me second guess myself. Seth Rollins from Davenport, Iowa. That's correct. And he was born in, he lived in Davenport, Iowa. He's Armenian, German. He went to Davenport West High School, right? Because Davenport was the next town closest over. So that's where everybody went to school. Looking at what he was saying about CM Punk, and thank you for your messages. I also got a survey going on. The survey's asking a simple question. Did Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay change how you see Seth Rollins? Yes, no, or a little bit. I will tell you guys in a little bit how I would vote and what I think about the whole situation. Seth Rollins calls Dean Ambrose. Damn, I could get names all jacked up. Seth Rollins calls CM Punk a rotten friend due to CM Punk's actions leaving the WWE. Rollins stated in the interview, Club Shay Shay, that Seth Rollins felt like CM Punk ghosted him and other friends because simply they chose to work for the company, the WWE. I get that. I understand that, right? Because when you're hurt, you want to see if you could hurt the WWE as a whole and just take everybody with you. I get that. I understand that. You know, maybe CM Punk was I'll save that for just a little bit. Hold on. They also said that CM Punk was taking pot shots at the WWE. Seth Rollins is recounting how CM Punk spent many years taking shots at the WWE and the people who remained, which Seth Rollins took personally. He believes that CM Punk's departure left a significant void, but the WWE managed to rebuild and grow without him. The whole entire time that CM Punk was out saying whatever he had to say about the WWE, one of the things you have to understand is the show still must go on. The show is not just going to stop because Seth Rollins is there. It's like pro wrestling is like riding a bike. You're riding the bike and then you fall off. You just don't sit there. Like, no, you have to get up and keep going. Pro wrestling is like a treadmill. Whether you stand on it or not, whether you walk on it, run on it, jog on it or not, or stand there and watch it go, it's going to keep going with or without you. So it may take a while for them to figure out how to move forward, but I think that was the WWE of yesteryear. The WWE of today, there's so many different people that they can move in and out and plug them in and out like different, puzzle pieces, like Lego pieces, that if the bottom falls out somewhere, there's already somebody ready to go. Always. You don't have to wait too long. And the thing with CM Punk, I want to say this. I don't know how much of a work it is. I don't know how much of a storyline they're continuing to build. I don't know if Seth and Punk have gotten over this already. And they're just playing it up for the camera. Because now that you heard that that Seth Rollins has beef with CM Punk, now when you see them on TV, you always remember this beef that they have. So Seth Rollins is the kind of person who's been saying that he doesn't really like what's happening on WWE Unreal. Seth Rollins is an old school guy. He was trained by old school people and he still believes in protecting the business. And I believe so in an extent as well too. You can let the cat out of the bag, but I'm not going to show or show you how the rabbit is pulled out of the hat, but I'm not going to show you how we saw the woman in half. We're not going to show you every single trick. So now, knowing that there's some kind of beef between Seth Rollins and CM Punk, when they step in the ring in the future, this Club Shay Shay interview could come back again. But I'll say this. Let's say that it's a shoot. It's real. And Seth Rollins and CM Punk still got beef. I want to say this. Sometimes you just have to forgive people. Don't forget how they made you feel. You just have to move people to go on with your life. Because sometimes, man, that bag of negativity, you don't want to drag that around. And maybe the reason why CM Punk wasn't reaching out is because maybe CM Punk's feelings were hurt. Not hurt by Seth Rollins, but hurt by the WWE. So much so that he said that anybody that was my friend that decided to stay, you know what? I just got to separate myself from y'all. One of the things that some of us guys don't really understand is the whole communication thing. We need to learn how to communicate better. And maybe Seth Rollins and CM Punk weren't communicating effectively. Let's see. Universal says that working on Elimination Chamber here. I still want to know who you are, Universal. You can message me on the side. You got the email address. Tristan Law Media, Tristan Law Show Media at gmail.com. I still want to know who you are. Look, I'm not going to blow your gimmick and be like, oh my God, I've got Triple H sitting here watching. I'm not going to say that. It's just going to be my secret and your secret. Send me an email, Universal. Tristan Law Show Media at gmail.com. But don't just tell me who you are. I want you to prove who you are. I will keep the secret. I will kayfabe that to the grave. Until you're ready to say, hey, look, I will let you do that. I will let you do that. Tyrell Jackson 872 says he's watching on the big screen. Terrell, you've been on my mind all week. I've been meaning to text you and see how you're doing. Terrell is one of my brothers. Not real blood brother, but he's my, my content creation brother. And I, found him on YouTube producing his own content. He produces great content on his channel that I want you guys to go check out as well, The Nosebleeds Show. And Terrell, thanks for hanging out. We're talking today about Seth Rollins on the Club Shay Shay episode, and there's a survey going on. The survey's asking, did Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay change how you see him? Right now, 60% of the audience says no. There's a two-way tie between yes and a little. Let me know how you vote. Tyrell says that I thought the interview was great, and not gonna lie, haven't been the best, which is why I haven't made much content, bro. It's okay. Look, when you say you're not the best, I'm not going to assume, but I want to say this from one brother to another who struggled with some things a few years ago. Just reach out. Bro, if you just want to call him and bullshit, you got my number. Just text me and say, hey, bro, you free to talk? And I'll let you know, hey, look, I got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you can just bullshit. We could just talk, right? We don't have to do life alone, which is why I reach out to other content creators. We don't have to do this YouTube thing alone. I don't compete with anybody. You do what you do over there, and I do what I do over there, and we're all sitting at the same table, all right?
Yeah!
All right, Universal says that Tristan, the Phil and Colby stuff is fabricated. Look, I don't know CM Punk personally. I don't know Seth Rollins personally. But if the stuff between Seth Rollins and CM Punk is fabricated, great. If it's not fabricated, great. Because either way, the thing that everybody has to understand is pro wrestling is just like a regular job. Let me explain this to you. You ever walk into work and you're in the break room and you see that person that you don't like, but they look at you, they give you that head nod, you give them the head nod and keep it pushing and go sit down with your friends. But then when you get back out of that break room, you got to go back to work. It's actually a person that you have to do the work with, but you don't care whether that person lives or dies. You don't. But you know what? It's about being a professional. It's about working together. Fernando's here, is back. Fernando says that CM Punk is a pain in the ass in real life. I'll be honest. When CM Punk was back, I was not a fan of CM Punk because I heard all the things that he said about the WWE, right? Granted, somebody might say, he's a mark, he's a mark. Look, whatever you want to call me is what you want to call me. You can't hurt me because you don't pay me and you don't sign my paycheck every week and you don't decide whether I get to heaven or hell. But I'm still a fan at the end of the day. And I still have my loyalty to the WWE. I'm not saying that WWE is better than AEW or TNA and New Japan Pro Wrestling. I just say for the style of wrestling that I like, that WWE suits that for me. For the style of wrestling that I like, WWE tickles it for me.
Yeah!
I wasn't a fan of CM Punk coming back. I wasn't a fan of CM Punk on Fox Sports doing that WWE talk show. Wasn't a fan of that either. Universal says that Phil is and has been difficult to work with, but puts asses in the seat and gets ratings. He does. I agree. You can't dispute that any way whatsoever. I think that one of AEW's biggest times that really made me pay attention, again, after I stopped paying attention, was when CM Punk showed up to AEW. It's like a morbid curiosity. It's like watching a bad car crash. I wanted to see, what CM Punk still had to offer. Fernando says that sometimes I'm amazed how petty and insecure wrestlers can be with each other. Yo, bro, 100%. It's that thing where it's an old school mentality. It's that old school mentality to where it's like, well, you know what? That guy's coming for my spot. And I'll say this to you so that you guys understand. If I'm wrestling just as many days as you, and I happen to take your spot or you happen to take my spot, it was never my spot to begin with, okay? When they send you out there as a wrestler, they'll tell you, all right, you got a 10-minute match, you got a 15-minute match. It is your job as an entertainer to utilize that time that they've given you, from the time that the fans see you till the time that they don't see you. Every time that you get put in a backstage segment on Raw or SmackDown or NXT or wherever, it's your time to utilize that time to make somebody give a damn about you. So a lot of people are just so insecure because they're like, well, you know what? If I hate on this guy and rub this guy the wrong way, this guy might just want to leave. And I could take his spot. Or you know what? He won't take my spot. That's why you would hear things about a lot of people being bullied back in the day. Don't get it wrong. I came in at a time to where the bullying was still there, but it was less. Can I ever say that I was ever bullied? No. I can't ever say that I was ever bullied because I was always a bigger guy. And don't get it wrong. One of the things that I learned in pro wrestling is that they come a lot bigger than me. And if I had to take an ass whooping in order to prove a point, I was taking an ass whooping to prove the point. But I can say this, nobody's ever taken liberties with me in the ring. I've never taken liberties with anybody else in the ring. I've always been a gentleman. And whether I like you or not, I always shake your hand and go, hey, what's going on, brother? And I mind my business and I go sit down in the corner with my friends. So yeah. Tyrell says that Punk said his truth at the time, and I don't think that Phil is hard to work with. I believe he's a guy who doesn't take shit from anyone, and he's not a person who just nods and agrees to everything. Let me tell you.
Yeah!
I appreciate nothing more than surrounding myself with people who are not yes men. I don't want to be told yes all the time, and I don't want my ass kissed. Maybe CM Punk is that same exact kind of guy that he's outspoken. Maybe because there is something. I don't know if my friend wants me telling you this, but I'm going to tell you about her. I got a really good friend. Good friend. That she can call me right now and be like, hey bro, what's going on? And we can BS all day long. I'm talking about some real BFF status, straight platonic status. And the way that she lives her life, she allows nobody, and I mean nobody, in her life, that includes me, her family, her boyfriend, her boss, nobody walks around her life with muddy, and nobody walks around her house, her life with muddy shoes. She holds people accountable, she holds herself accountable, and she speaks up for herself. So, taking the idea from what Terrell is saying, was it Terrell who said that? It was Terrell. Taking that thought, are we saying that CM Punk is difficult because he decided to be outspoken and speak up for himself? Because he decided that he didn't want to play anymore. He decided to take his ball and go home. I guess the reason why that we probably see this, and that's why I love having a two-way talk with you guys when we're watching live, is because it gives me a different way to see things. That you can change the way how I feel. And sometimes it's the narrative that we're getting from the atmosphere that says, oh, CM Punk's a bad person because he just left. Stone Cold Steve Austin is a bad person because he left. Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk weren't a bad person to us because they left. Okay, maybe if I was running the WWE, I would say that CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin was a bad person to the WWE. But what if in the grand scheme of things, CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin, because Stone Cold Steve Austin had a walkout story as well too. What if Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk were loving themselves before they love everything else? And said, I love myself so much that I don't want to be in this situation anymore. I am going to leave. Now, don't get it wrong. There's a right way and a wrong way to handle everything. And I'm not going to decide right now whether Stone Cold Steve Austin or CM Punk, who we're talking about, because we're stemming off of the conversation of the interview with Seth Rollins and Club Shay Shay. We're not deciding whether CM Punk or Stone Cold Steve Austin are bad people. That's for another episode. But definitely to get my mind thinking, maybe they decide to love themselves first. Let's see. Fernando says, Universal, with wrestlers, the insecurity is on another level. Yeah, I agree. Universal says that CM Punk has done some dumb things. Tyrell Jackson says, name it besides working with Adam Page. Fernando says, I'm originally from Chicago, and Punk is a fake Chicago tough guy. Damn. I don't have a thing for that. Maybe I'll just go with this one. Hold on, I'll do this. I don't know, I had nothing for that. All right, damn. All right, well, shoot. And the thing too, what you guys need to learn as well too, that from living in Florida, I'll tell you this 100%. Fernando's from Florida, Central Florida, and I'll see this. Not everybody, I learned that there's not that many people that are from Florida, that live in Florida. I met so many people that were from New York, that were from Chicago, that were from Georgia, that were from California. We just all decided to go to Florida. I don't know why, but yeah, 100%. Going through the chat, Universal says, so is Cena being Boston tough. Tyrell Jackson says, SES, I think that he means the Straight Edge Society, it worked. He did his best with the new Nexus. The Summer of Punk wouldn't been better if booked better. His championship run didn't have any bad things in it, so what is it? Universal says, don't watch the propaganda. Austin Roberts is in the chat. He said, I gotta watch the replay. I'm late. Look, bro, better late than never. Better late than never. Look, on Saturdays, I try to do the extra show because I'll tell you, I'm trying to get my watch hours up just a little bit. So I just throw in an extra show. So like next week is Elimination Chamber. I expect there to be shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's going to be a lot of shows next week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's one of those things to where I appreciate you guys all being here. And I know that look, I want to be here if I was you guys doing the live show, because it gives you the opportunity to voice your opinions. On Saturday morning, we're going to be talking about the Elimination Chamber and getting everybody ready. And then on Sunday morning, we are going to talk about who was right, wrong, or indifferent. So make sure you put that on your calendar. It's going to be 12 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to have shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're all trying to raise the watch hours here, because eventually I see some things happening, and I promise you guys I'm going to work on the merch store for you guys. Fernandez says, busy week next week, Tristan. Get your rest. Let me tell you, my next break is not until WrestleMania. After WrestleMania. The week after WrestleMania. Because going into WrestleMania, there's just so much. There is the Hall of Fame. I predict the Hall of Fame. I discuss the Hall of Fame. Not like who got their awards and stuff like that, but who should be in it and why this person the WWE chose should be in it. So far, they've only announced one person, that's Stephanie McMahon. And I see that in the next coming weeks, that we should get about another 3 or 4 people in that Hall of Fame. I look forward to the Hall of Fame every year. I went one year. I went the year where Ric Flair got inducted in 2007. So I like the Hall of Fame. And then we have, the preview for WrestleMania Night 1, the recap for WrestleMania Night 1, the preview for WrestleMania Night 2, and the recap for WrestleMania Night 3. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys being along for the ride. We all got on this train at different stops. And I'm glad that you're here and you guys allow me to be your conductor.
Yeah!
There's a difficulty, I think, in reconciling, right? And it stems from these actions between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, right? Rollins finds it hard to separate the CM Punk from the friend who hurt him a decade ago. He believes reconciliation might be possible once they're both retired from the business, but I think that, but it requires effort and time. You see, it didn't sound like true hatred for me. It sounded like memory. It just sounded like, look, I'll say it as bluntly and politely as possible. It's just two dudes who just don't mess with each other. They just don't F with each other like that. They're just not friends on that level. There's a personal hurt. There's a loyalty to the WWE locker room and pride in what they built post-Punk. Protection of the brand. CM Punk was supposed to be that guy in the WWE, but decided that he didn't want to be that guy because he didn't like what they were doing and he decided to leave. That's his prerogative. That's CM Punk's prerogative to go ahead and leave. I understand why Seth Rollins could take it personally, or why anybody in WWE would take it personally, all the stuff that CM Punk said. Because WWE put a lot of food on the table for a lot of people. Regardless of whether you're at the top of the roster, whether you're at the bottom of the roster, whether you're on NXT and all this other stuff, if WWE decided to just wait for CM Punk to come back, we might not have the WWE that we have now, where Roman Reigns, Jon Moxley, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Drew McIntyre, Kofi Kingston, all these guys were just at the top. So it's understandable why people would feel a certain way to CM Punk. And I'll be honest too. You know what? CM Punk had to probably apologize and squash beef with a lot of people. Let's see. I'm being asked who. Okay, so Danny Daniels trained CM Punk, and I don't know who Danny Daniels is. I never heard of the name. A lot of people say that that you have to be trained by like a big star to make it to the top, and I don't think that's true. Because you always receive some kind of training. I don't know who Danny Daniels are. I think I just found a porn star. I'm going to come out of here before I get my channel blocked. But it's definitely a protection of the brand with CM Punk and I mean with Seth Rollins. Protect your brand. Protect the company that feeds you, right? But the important thing was when the question was thrown at him, whether it was a work, meaning it's a part of the act, or whether it's legit, he didn't dodge it. He didn't explode. He didn't downplay it. He felt it, and that's key. That's that emotion isn't just about rivalry. It's about responsibility. Speaking of responsibility, Seth Rollins even goes on to talk about the early challenge with Vince McMahon. How Vince McMahon was involved in the disapproval of his finishing move, the curb stomp. Look, when I see the curb stomp, it only makes me think one thing. It doesn't make me think Seth Rollins. It doesn't make me think pro wrestling. It makes me think, what is it, American History X? The movie where they told the guy to open up his mouth, and he put his mouth on the curb, and they stepped on his head and broke his jaw and killed him? That's how I see the curb stomp. Maybe somebody came over to Vince McMahon and said, hey, well, I just want to let you know about this. And the thing is that Seth Rollins already won with it. He already won at WrestleMania, so we just want to change the narrative and take the move. But the thing about being a pro wrestler, an entertainer, or even being a good employee is that sometimes you just got to learn how to, you have to move like what is it, a willow tree. You have to just learn how to adapt and just go with the wind, right? And even going with the wind, he talked about celebrities like Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. I'll say this real quick. The thing about being in the ring with a celebrity or somebody who's not from the wrestling world, it could be a whole pain in the butt. But Seth Rollins had really good things to say about Bad Bunny and really good things to say about Logan Paul. Maybe Logan Paul could be another guy that's in the new Shield that's happening. I don't know. But all that stuff that Seth said in the interview, this is executive Seth. This is the Colby Lopez, the executive. He understands audience participation. He understands business expansion, drawing power, and building legacy. Emotion here is not, for him, is not chaos, it's investment. He wants wrestling to win. Just listen how he talks about wrestling. And that same emotional depth, it shows up in how he handles real life. He talks about getting attacked by the guy. Let me tell you something. I don't think that I would have had it in my heart to do what Seth Rollins did. In case you don't know, it might have been at the Barclays or Madison Square Garden about a couple years ago, maybe in 2019, when the guy jumps over the barricade and attacks Seth Rollins, and it wasn't a wrestler, it was a fan. Seth Rollins explains that he chose not to press charges against the fan who attacked him. Why? Because he believed the fan was catfished by someone pretending to be him, and that the fan was not all there mentally. That's called two things, everybody. Two things. That is called mercy, and that is called compassion. Mercy is when you have the ability to punish somebody, to punish them mercilessly. And you say, you know what? I'm going to ease up. Compassion, empathy, taking yourself and putting them into that person's shoes, right? And seeing that, you know what? The criminal justice system is not going to suit that person. So why set him over there? Once I heard that part of the interview, I had to give Seth Rollins a hand clap. Because I really don't know in my heart if I can do that. And it shows who Colby is, who Colby Lopez is as a person. It shows that he is truly a good person. Look, I'll just say it as flat as it is. Seth Rollins, Colby Lopez, is a born white guy to a white man and a white woman who had a Hispanic stepdad who runs around with his Hispanic stepdad's last name and who learned to be a good person from his mother and father and had the ability to punish somebody who jumped over the stage and jumped on him and chose not to punish that person. What the hell does that say about somebody like Seth Rollins? Let me ask you guys a question, whether you're watching live or on demand. Could that be something that you do in your heart? To if you were in Seth Rollins' shoes to where somebody jumped you while you were working, like, you know what, I'm not going to punish that person because they're not mentally all there? I work in a place where I am with the general public, and there are more mental people walking around my job, the subway. There are more people walking around working around my job, more mental people than a mental institution. And you know what? Once I see a mental person come on, a person, I don't want to sit there all mental. A person that's having a challenging situation, I take myself and I move away from them. I move away from them and hope that they don't try me because I'm gonna try myself back. But if it came to prostitution, golly. If it came to prosecution, I don't think I'd be able to say no. I think I'd say hell yes. Universal, when I asked that question, do you think that you'd be able to have that same mercy and compassion? He says yes or no. Universal says that wrestlers' contracts in WWE and AEW are overall good, but the rest aren't making more than the past except a tiny few. Yeah, I agree. Tyrell Jackson says that WWE has put so much money on people's tables from being in the company. Every indie promotion, AEW, YouTubers, and streamers. He's right. He's 100% right.
Yeah.
If WWE, if pro wrestling, if WWE wasn't popular or doing a great job, and look, you have to be able to admit that WWE is doing a great job. Sometimes, look, you don't hit a home run every time at bat. But if WWE wasn't doing good, it wouldn't trickle down to AEW, TNA, the indies. It wouldn't be good enough that you guys would be like, let me go ahead and subscribe to this guy on YouTube. It wouldn't be. That's me. Subscribe to me. Seth talks about Becky Lynch changing his life and his views on relationship. It was a good interview overall. It's not a 2014 Seth Rollins. This is an almost 39-year-old, almost 40-year-old man. And I will say this from my life experience being a 40-year-old man right now as we speak. Be 41 in August. Oh, Jess's birthday. Jess the Yapton, her birthday's on Monday. Maybe we could all do a little something special, and do something special for Jess. If you guys want, I will set up the promo hotline. If you guys want to call and say happy birthday to Jess, I think that'd be great. 973-826-0101. Call the number and say happy birthday to Jess. Whatever it is that you want to say, keep it clean. Don't be nasty, but 973-826-0101. If there's any calls on Monday, I'll play them for her. Live here on the air on the Tristan Law Show, which is a part of the 830 Wrestling Network. But being a 40-year-old man, I always say that it took me 37 years to figure out who the hell I am. And I think that might be true for a lot of people. Because Seth Rollins said that before Becky Lynch, he wanted to be in a poly relationship. Look, I'm not mad at the brother. Sometimes I think I want a poly relationship, but I'm like, I really don't think that I can try to emotionally please two people at the same time. Physically, ain't no problem, man. I'm a stallion. But, emotionally wise, having to deal with two separate personalities, I don't think I really want to do it at the end of the day. The 39-year-old Seth Rollins, it shows perspective, maturity, and stability. The emotion didn't just disappear, it matured. Looking at the poll overall, the survey, did Seth Rollins on Club Shay Shay change how you see him? 67% of the audience that voted said no. 17% said a little, and 17% said yes. For me, I'm going to vote yes. The reason why I vote yes is because of this simple. WWE or Seth Rollins is positioning himself. You know that when Seth Rollins come back, Seth Rollins is going to be a big baby face. And people like to be surrounded by people that they like. You only buy things from people that you like. You only subscribe to this channel because you like me. And you like the other personalities that are on this channel. If you didn't like us, you really wouldn't subscribe. They want us to subscribe ahead of time to Seth Rollins so that when he does make his return, so that when he does return to the WWE from his injury, whether it be at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania, whether he's the one in the box, I don't know. But it's a PR stunt for the character Seth Rollins. It's advertisement, and they're not using WWE television to do it. Universal says, bingo, we have a winner. Tristan said it perfectly. Yeah, it's all PR. That's just how I feel. It's just, Seth Rollins is not wrestling right now. So instead of putting Seth Rollins in that bubble on the WWE and just having only WWE people see him, you put him on Club Shay Shay. Right? Let me explain to you this so that we all understand. When you're looking at Club Shay Shay, he been getting some good interviews. He's got, let me go to his channel real quick, just so you understand. Club Shay Shay has 4 million subscribers. 4 million subscribers. And it's safe to say not all those people overlap. Not all of them overlap. But you got people that have been in that channel like Joe Budden, Kevin Gates. You've got The Game, Wale, Blueface, John Elway, Mike Epps, T-Pain, Miguel, Roy Wood Jr., Warren G. You've got people like Big Daddy Kane, right? You've got, I'm just calling out Damon Wayans, Bobby Brown, Bow Wow. It's a whole separate demographic than you would get from WWE by going over to Club Shay Shay. So now they're just like, oh, well, what else is going on? What else is going on over there? I want to see what's going on over there. John Cena's been there. It's a good way to expose Seth Rollins to this new audience. And you're not doing it by saying, oh, he's a wrestler. The way that Seth Rollins was portrayed on Club Shay Shay, they weren't saying, hey, this is Seth Rollins, the pro wrestler. They were saying, this is Colby Lopez, the man who is a wrestler. It wasn't Seth Rollins first. It was Colby first. You heard him talk about his wife. You heard him talk about his life, his upbringing, his growing up, how he sees pro wrestling. After watching that Club Shay Shay interview, if you don't like Seth Rollins, if you don't even like Colby Lopez as a person, I think you're the problem. Maria, what's going on? Tyrell says that the Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay was the best. I agree. Let's take this one home. Some top guys, they detach over time. They become polished, they become safe, and they become corporate. Seth Rollins, he still feels it. He feels the grind. He feels the betrayal. He feels the loyalty. He feels the responsibility. That whole entire interview on Club Shay Shay that I'm telling you to go watch, that's not weakness. That's the human side of the man that plays Seth Rollins. At the end of the interview, the thing that stood out to me, it wasn't controversy. It wasn't headlines. It wasn't drama. It was character. Colby Lopez is a good human, and it shows. And maybe that's why he's still at the top of pro wrestling, because he never stopped caring. Thank you so much for joining me today on today's episode of the Tristan Law Show. Tyrell, I'm gonna text you, Universal, Maria, Fernando, all the other names that I forgot. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back on Monday. Monday's Jess's birthday. Give her a call at 973-826-0101. Leave a message. My name is Tristan Law. This is the Tristan Law Show, and I'll see you next time.
Flashing red lights, driving at night, windowless ride, feeling alive, nothing in sight, forever in flight, follow those lines, we'll make it.